As we look at the data approaches of how to analyze for your diverse Simpson diversity index from your collected data for report number 2 on plant species diversity. First of all, as you see in this screen right here, we have the equivalent of what your page 1 of your data collection table should look like as you used your little paper quadrats on first your Appalachian Mountain picture aerial view, and then as you did with your Midwestern Prairie view. So you counted 3 quadrats, 1, 2, 3, for your Appalachian Mountain Forest, and you did 1, 2, 3 quadrats for your Midwestern Prairie. Now, you got counts for the different species, and we said you would do it by the basis of the color coding. You recorded the number of orange, the number of green, the number of white, red, and so on for quadrat 1. You did the same for quadrat 2, and then you did a third quadrat, and you repeated this 3 times in your aerial view of your Midwest Prairie. We're going to take just the column for quadrat 1 data into the Excel example of how to use Excel to solve for Simpson's diversity. What we're going to show you in that example that we loaded for you on Blackboard is the column for quadrat 1 for this example problem. You would repeat those exact steps for quadrat 2 to get a diversity value, and quadrat 3 for getting a diversity value for the 3 diversities in the Midwest Prairie. And you would do the same thing for each of the 1, 2, and 3 quadrats for your Appalachian Mountain Forest. So there's where your data table come from. Now the big letter N, first of all, make sure you know, as it tells you at the top, that each of these little values for row by row in the quadrat are your little letter N's. The total at the bottom of the column is your big letter N, as you see right there. That's where you get that. Now we're going to do this one example for quadrat 1 from the example data we have here for the Midwestern Prairie. And of course, your equation is pulled out and is shown for you right here below. We've repeated this in the Excel spreadsheet so you can see how to work it. All those terms were defined for you right below this data table. So let's go to that Excel spreadsheet right now and follow the steps for that quadrat 1 sample data for Midwest Prairie. Here we see your worked out example problem. We took the data from the quadrat 1 column, which were those numbers 8, 5, 3, 6, and 2, for those 5 rows of species. The big letter N at the bottom of that column was 24. So these are the data that came straight, as it says here, the example data from quadrat 1. So now what do you do with them to then turn them into getting your Simpson's diversity? Well, we move down to the next little view just below that. We've repeated the data as your column of the little letter N. The total is 24. Now the next column to the right is little letter N minus 1. So 8 minus 1 is 7. 5 minus 1 is 4. 3 minus 1 is 2. 6 minus 1 is 5. 2 minus 1 is 1. All right? And then the third column, you multiply the first column times the second to get the third column value, which is the critical value for determining diversity. So 8 times 7 is 56, 5 times 4 is 20, 3 times 2 is 6, 6 times 5 is 30, and 2 times 1 is 2. Add that column all up, and lo and behold, you get 114. And that is just simply the algebraic expression next to it, which comes right in your lab manual. This goes into the denominator, as your lab manual shows you, for computing Simpson diversity, lowercase d sub s. So there's the 114 solved for that column, summed up, put in the denominator. The 24 is multiplied times 24 minus 1, as you see in this cell here, which is 24 times 23, which gives you the value of 552. So 24 times 24 minus 1, or 23, is 552. That goes in the numerator. So now we have an equation that is 552 divided by 114, giving us the diversity index value of 4.84, which we have circled over here. And that would be the first value you put into the box on the second page for your Simpson diversity for quadrant 1 of the Midwest Prairie. Everything we just described right here for one column quadrant is repeated for the other 5 columns of data, giving you eventually your 6 values of Simpson diversity. You will compare the mean of the 3 Simpson diversities for Midwest Prairie versus the mean of the 3 Simpson diversity for Appalachian Mountain in your t-test using the standard t-test approach. I hope that has been helpful. So this explains then how you use your Excel example. And the rest of